Guess what? It's me again. I did do a wardrobe change for you. I'm now representing University of Connecticut, where I got my PhD. Before I was wearing a Amherst College. They're the woolly mammoths, so I just really like their logo and T-shirt. I have some friends that went there. So anyhow, I want to talk about narrative perspective and narrative voice, but this time in the road, and I'll be trying to do a little comparative work for you. But first, I want to introduce you to a new cat who's decided he wants to come live on my porch with my other five cats. He's not really mine. I think he's well cared for. He just likes the social atmosphere. Let me show you this guy here. I don't know his real name, but if you can see him, he's a big, fluffy gray cat. I don't know if it's a he or a she. I think it's a he. So I've given this cat the name Charlie, which is gender neutral because I have known some women named Charlie before. So anyhow, Charlie is your bonus question for the next quiz. So the quiz is going to be on narrative perspective and voice in both Parable of the Sower and The Road. And the bonus question will be, what is the name of the fluffy gray cat that's just moved onto my porch? And his name is Charlie. So narrative perspective first in The Road. It's a third person narrator, so quite different from the narrator of Parable of the Sower, very personal first person narrator. But it's a narrator that is what we would call limited omniscient, and it's primarily the perspective of the Father that we get. We know what the Son says, what he does, but we don't have direct access to his thoughts and feelings except as he explains them to his Father, or the Father suggests, the kid might be feeling, and generally the Father has a really good sense of his Son. So it's limited omniscient to the Father's perspective, but with the caveat that he also is very intimate with the emotional life and history of his Son. The narrative perspective never leaves the Father and the Son. We don't, as a lot of first person or third person narrators will do, they might bounce from character to character. You see this in movies all the time. We see what's happening with the character who's in one place, and then boom, flash, we're looking through the eyes of a different character in a different part of the city or a different part of the country. So we have a third-person narrator with a lot of interesting qualities to them. Again, if they're touring us through a museum, it's the museum of a fallen, post-apocalyptic world that's been devastated by something. And we know from one scene that the boy, and this is important in narrative structure, that the novel, the boy's life begins in the novel pretty much the night after the concussions have come, and the bright flashing lights. So the assumption is that there's been a nuclear holocaust, that those concussions are the sounds of nuclear bombs dropping and wiping out the nation's cities. And the nuclear winter, which is a theory that if enough nuclear bombs were to drop, the ash that would rise up above would blot out the sun for at least 5 years. So we're at a point in the novel where the boy is now 6 or 7 years old, and he was born on the apocalyptic event itself, and the father is the primary vehicle through which we know these characters. If we turn now to narrative poetics and narrative voice, we have a very different kind of narrative voice than we had with the first person Lauren and her very straightforward kind of journals. Instead, we have a highly literate, highly educated voice that knows Latin, that speaks in these sometimes incredibly ornate, almost biblical kinds of sentences and phrases. I would say that it is an Old Testament kind of omniscient voice that speaks with the authority of someone or some entity that's, overlooking this entire sort of, destruction that's in the order of Noah and the flood. It's an arcane language. One of the questions on the quiz, I think it's the second quiz, is to identify a couple words that you've never seen before, and there's many of them. You're not stupid. I do recommend you keeping Google open, and you can search some of these words. And so I've asked you to search out two of them. Like, I've never seen the word granitic before, but it's like granite, granitic. Old forms that have been carved into the deep skeleton of the world at its creation. Rachitic is another word I really like, meaning having to do with a kind of respiratory, rachitis. It's a kind of respiratory ailment, which fits with the father's character. I had to look up what a catamite was, and if you look up catamite, Catamite, you'll be horrified. I won't spoil it for you, but in that one long parade of people where following behind the men are pregnant women, and then slaves, and then catamites, which are a kind of very specific kind of slave. So there we have in terms of narrative perspective, a limited omniscient perspective, limited to the father's experience, and this is really important, the father's memories of the past world. The boy has only memory of the present world. He is a child of the apocalypse, where the father knows the old world, which is going to be one of the thematic, the larger themes with some thematic elements embedded into it. The conflict that arises between the father and son is almost inevitably linked to his connections to a past world, and the boy's insistence that the world as it is the only world that matters now. And he worries when his father sort of drifts off into those kind of flights of fancy. So that's a quality of the voice as well, is the perspective is very attuned to the father's memories and dreams even. Okay, tried to keep both of these videos a little shorter, and I think you've got all the answers that you'll need for the questions that are going to be on this second video quiz series. There'll be, I think, 4 of them. I hope you're enjoying these lectures. I'm really awkward in front of a camera, so I'm doing the best I can without a script, because if I were reading a script, I'd surely die. So I hope you're enjoying your summer. I certainly am. I'm really enjoying this class. I love the work that you're doing. I love to see quizzes that get 11 out of 10, and I'm absolutely thrilled, over the moon, with your first full writing assignments. Just totally eye-opening and enlightening. I feel like I know the book better than I did, at least when I started. All right, take care, everyone.